This is working on problems 30 and 31 for Math 060 test review number 2, or test number 2 review, and they're just more order of operation problems. So we're going from left to right, and we're going to use the adding and subtracting, the rules for adding and subtracting sign numbers. On this first one here, we have to treat these absolute value signs like parentheses, so they come first. So then we have, moving left to right, but using our order of operations by solving what's inside the absolute value signs first. Negative 22 plus 19. So looking at our addition rules, this is adding two different signs, so we find the difference between the numbers, and as I've explained before, we're taking these numbers out of context for a moment. We're ignoring the fact that there's a negative 22, and we're just looking at 22 and 19 and finding the difference between 22 and 19, which gives us 3. So we have a 3. Now we have to decide, well, what sign is that 3 going to have based on our rules? We found the difference. Now the answer has the sign of the larger number. Once again, looking at these numbers as if there's no signs on them, the larger number between 22 and 19 is 22. So we use the sign on the number 22. So our answer, is negative 3. However, it's the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3. So we have our answer to what's inside the absolute value signs. Now we still have to solve all that's left over here, so we're going to pull that down, and this is as if we are making rows going this way. And now we're going to write this down, that's minus, and bring the rest of that down, 6 of now a new row to look at, and we start this from left to right, so we do this first and we follow our rules over here. It's subtraction, so for subtraction you change it to addition, and we change subtraction to addition, but we're not done. Step 2 is that we change the second number to its opposite. So we have a positive 16, so it turns into a negative 16. So what we're really doing is adding 3 plus negative 16. We follow our rules for adding, so we find the difference between the numbers 16 and 3, and that's 13, and then we put the sign on the number 13 of the larger of the two numbers, meaning the larger of the absolute value of the two numbers. So the absolute value of 16, negative 16 is 16, so this is the larger. So that has a sign, a negative sign on it, so our answer is negative. We found the difference between the numbers and used the sign on the answer of the larger number. Alright, so we still have this left over, so we bring that down. So once again, we have adding a signed number and a non-signed number. Adding numbers with different signs, so we find the difference between the numbers. The difference between 14 and 13 is 1, and we use the sign of the higher number. That's 14, so it's positive 1. So that's our answer to number 30. It equals positive 1. Alright, so in this one, once again, it's left to right. We don't have an absolute value, but we do have to follow our parentheses rule. Parentheses to solve parentheses first. So let's look at that. Inside the parentheses is subtraction, so we follow the rules for subtraction, which is change subtraction to addition. So we make that a plus, and with the second number we find the opposite of the second number, which is negative 10. So it's negative 1 plus negative 10. And adding two negative numbers, you add the numbers, and the answer is negative. So negative 1 plus negative 10 is negative 11. So that's, now we have to bring down this and bring down this. We just have to be careful. You have to make sure you bring it all down. In other words, don't leave out these minus signs. Okay, so let's see here. We do minus 23, and this is tricky. Minus, so we should put this in parentheses, minus 11 minus 6. So this stuff, minus 23 minus, and then we solved inside the parentheses and got negative 11, and we have this minus 6. Okay, we still work left to right, and we grab the first two numbers and try to isolate those in our minds and work on those. Negative 23 minus negative 11. So we follow the rules for subtraction, which is change subtraction to addition, and then take the sign of the second number and change it to its opposite. So we change that to a plus. Now we have negative 23 plus 11. So we follow the rules for adding numbers with different signs. Find the difference between the number 12. So we have 12, but we've used, that's the difference, but we need to decide what sign to use. The answer has the sign of the larger number. So this is the larger number, remembering we're taking them out of context and just looking at the two numbers, 23 and 11. So it has the sign of number 23. Alright, so then we bring down the rest of our problem. And we have minus 6. So we have a subtraction. Minus 12 minus 6, so we change subtraction to addition. And change the sign of the second number. So the opposite of 6 is negative 6. And we follow the rules of addition. Negative 12 plus negative 6. Add the numbers, and the answer is negative for adding two negative numbers. So the answer is negative 18. That's the answer to number 31.